Hey, what's up? Hello, everyone. Welcome into Fantasy Filmball, the show where we turn movies into sports and sports into something we don't talk about here. My name is Matt.
And my name is Dyl. And before we really kick off today's episode of our week 4 of awards roundup, first thing I want to say for people who have been here for a while, maybe new people, Sinner's poster, it's cool. Look at that cord. It's definitely not as long as they told me it was going to be. I did promise if it lost the awards, I would take it down. But I feel like some new people may be coming in here for our Golden Globe reactions. And I want to say I am a Sinner's Head. It's my favorite movie of the year. It's something I want to see succeed in award season, but I'm going to be a realist. I'm going to acknowledge when stuff may not be going our way anymore, and awards may be going the way out because today was not a very good day for the Centers Awards campaign team. But if you are new here, and even if you're returning, we're basically going to give you upfront in all of our reaction and prediction episodes how we've been doing this season, so you kind of know what you're getting yourself into. And 2025, 2026 award season has not been the year for myself. As you can see at Critics' Choice, Matt and myself did pretty much the same. Not great. At the Globes, Matt did a little bit better than me. I got 5 wrong, and 3 of these categories are ones I probably should have gotten right. You'll hear which ones I got wrong as we talk throughout today's episode. But a like helps the channel continue to grow. Comment down below with your reactions to the Golden Globes in this past week of awards season. There's so much to talk about here today. We're talking about the Globes. We're talking about the BAFTA Longlist. We're talking about some guilds like DGA, ADG, the casting, and PGA. So much to talk about. And consider dropping a subscription. YouTube's weird, algorithm's weird. I know everyone hates a self-promo plug. My ramble is almost over, but this is a channel that we both have fun. We just come to yap, and we hope other people like to listen to us yap. So if you like to listen to us yap or to talk about anything awards season, a subscription, it just helps other people see our videos in the algorithm feed. But Matt, let's talk about today.
Of course, the Globes just happened, and I think we should talk about our big winner of the night, one battle after another. Paul Thomas Anderson, he's just sweeping everything. You can tell he's already tired of speeches. He's already sick of giving speeches. This man does not like talking in front of an audience. Someone please let him not talk. Give it's it's really funny to watch him accept these awards because it's so clear he would rather be doing anything other than speaking in front of that crowd. Um, but in terms of one battle after another, just want to highlight here it's a huge thing that Teyana Taylor won first award of the evening, being supporting actress, and bam, Teyana Taylor comes out of the gate. She had a great speech. I mean, every year we talk about how speeches are an opportunity to campaign for Oscar votes, and speeches stick with voters. And she had the first, I think, great speech of the season. And not because of the speech. Let's leave that part. This is aside. I feel like with this win, Teyana Taylor is now likely to sweep the rest of the season.
This is one of my most disappointing failed picks of the night because Tiana Taylor is someone who, ever since I saw the movie, has said can win the Oscar, can pull off this sort of thing where, yes, she's only in about 15 or 20 minutes of the movie, but you think about her for the remainder of the 2 hours that you have left of one battle after another. And after Critics' Choice, I was like, well, maybe Amy Mackin just does what people are projecting for her to do. She's just going to go on to sweep. She's going to do what people thought Demi Moore could do last year, and she ended up coming up short. But Madigan can maybe do it in a category with just weaker competition overall. And as we saw here, Tiana Taylor gets the win here at the Golden Globes. And like you just said, I think she'll go on to win SAG. She'll go on to win BAFTA. She's going to go on to win the Oscar in comparison with just how much of a juggernaut one battle after another continues to seem to be. Because going on for its other wins here, director Paul Thomas Anderson, like you said, he's on a sweep and he's going to continue to give some of our shortest speeches of the night. I even enjoyed for the comedy picture when he just didn't talk. He just let other people talk, and then when it was his turn, he just turned away and walked away. And is that something that may hurt his chances? No, not really. But I think it's something that people will kind of complain about online. Like, well, he should give a speech. He should talk a little bit more. But yeah, one battle, picture, or comedy picture, director, screenplay, and supporting actress. These are 4 wins. I think that will continue at the rest of our shows that we have.
Yeah, but even then, even with the overwhelming one battle after another love, they still can't win for any of the male actors. And I think that this is a real tangible example that we can see of a vote split because I really think that either one of those actors, if they were alone in the category, we'd likely be seeing them winning. But right now, with them split, I think people's opinions on who the best one is between Benicio and Sean Penn, I feel like there's a lot of varied opinions on that, and we are seeing the effects of that because Stellan Skarsgård took it. And honestly, I feel like this is going to be the remainder of the season. We are not going to see Sean Penn or Benicio. I mean, one of them could win SAG. That could also be Jacob Elordi again. Um, but I feel like at the Oscars, at the BAFTA, we're going to see a vote split happen. And Stellan, I think he takes the BAFTA. I think he takes the Oscar because of what we see here.
I know I have been a little bit lower on Stellan's chances throughout the season. Part of that may be a little bit of personal bias. I can admit that. Part of it can also be the trajectory I envision for sentimental value, which weirdly enough is kind of hitting that while also continuing to get all the nominations it really needs to. I said at the end of the day, it would no longer be Neon's number one. You may have an argument where it's no longer Neon's number one, but then it's also continuing to get directors, continuing to get screenplay. It's continuing to get most of its actors, as we saw with the BAFTA Longlist, which we'll talk about later. Here at Golden Globes, it even got a win. And yeah, it wins this category. And my dream of one of the supporting acting categories to be four different winners at every precursor, I guess technically is still alive, but it could be two Elordi and two Skarsgård instead of four unique winners.
Timothy Chalamet, he's officially, I think, officially the front runner for the Oscar and on his way to a sweep. And it's really funny because he was the front runner and then he started his press tour and everyone got annoyed with him. And we all convinced ourselves, oh, he's not going to win anymore. He's being too annoying. Well, here he is. He is now two for two. He's likely to also win SAG, likely to also win BAFTA. And let me tell you, he's playing it real good with his speeches. He is counteracting every criticism that we've heard towards him of being too cocky, not humble. He's getting up there and he is thanking everyone. He's showing his gratitude to his fellow nominees.
I think there's really a few ways to go about the whole marketing push for Marty Supreme because I think, like you just mentioned, it did what it was supposed to do. It got people out to the box office, it got people talking about it, and it got especially our demographic of, I would say, sub 30-year-olds, people that sometimes go to the cinema but are often the loudest voices online talking about this movie, raving this movie. This is one of the biggest audience hits of the year at large. And I think that Timmy knows what he's doing. He's learned from some of the best, and he is doing what actors do, is selling the promo while also selling the awards campaign. So I think they're working in tandem. I get some people are like, oh, he's cocky, he's arrogant, but I also think the large majority of voters didn't either pay attention to it or wouldn't care. It would be one thing if that was what his whole speech was about. But I think even showing last year at SAG is a lot of people were very receptive to that SAG speech, and it really helped propel him into the early parts of this season for Mario Supreme. And I just think the reason why I feel like a lot of us, specifically you and I, were not head over heels for the Timothy Chalamet sweep once we saw the movie was more so the character itself. But I think the
Yeah.
biggest thing that is working for Timmy's favor right now is none of this competition really screams like I have to win, at least in this musical comedy category. Like Leo, yes, it's the best picture frontrunner, but it's also a performance that we've seen Leo do 5 or 10 different times. Maybe this is the best version of that character, but we've seen him do this type of
Mm.
performance before. Ethan Hawke is in a film that's not getting picture notices, is barely getting screenplay notices, and then who would even be the next person in the category? Maybe Jesse Plemons for Begonia, which he struggled to get nominated at some places so far. So I feel like in this category, it was pretty clear cut, especially after CCA. And I think going forward, barring Wagner Moura getting the hype of Brazil to propel him up, Timmy just has a coast win for him laid out ahead of him.
I agree on all points except that Leo's done this performance 5 times before. I feel like he's playing out of type here personally. And that's why I love that performance so much. It feels so different from what I've seen before from him. Outside of maybe Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but that was also an out of type performance for him. He doesn't play pathetic all that often. And so,
I would say his last like four movies have been that with Don't Look Up and with Kills of the Flower Moon.
eh, maybe. I don't know. I don't know. Anyways, talking about more acting sweeps, Jessie Buckley comes away with another win for Hamnet. And you know what? She's going to continue to win everything, and I'm just glad. Rose Byrne got at least one. So good for her. Going from someone that we were like, she'd be lucky to be nominated. She's great. She'd be lucky to be nominated. No, she is 100% being nominated. She is likely a distant number two in the category, but Jessie Buckley, number one. And along with that, Hamnet won Best Picture over Sinners, over The Secret Agent. And this is huge for it, a huge help when it feels like audience momentum, the love around the film has sort of been dwindling a little bit. It's really, really helpful to see it win here.
Yeah, and I mean, just to hit on all three of those wins that you just mentioned, Rose Byrne is someone I'm willing to hold the L for. Early in the season, I was one of those people saying this would just be a critic saying it wasn't going to pan out. She has no other nominations going for her movie. The movie's too weird. A24 hasn't put much money into the promo. Despite all that, she continues to win. She continues to get nominations at these big places, and she gets this win in this category. Agreeing with you that she's our number two in the category. Jessie Buckley and Hamden, I think you really hit the nail on the head there. This is a film out of the gate back in January through, I would say, till like August. This is a film most people were denying for its Oscar chances, us included, for all categories, saying like maybe it could be a craft player, maybe it could be one of these examples of acting players that get nominations without a Best Picture nominee. But like Focus has Begonia. Hamnet just has so many red flags from test screenings or whatever the red flags we were saying, and clearly they're not red flags now. And I would say playing Monday morning quarterback. I mean, this was the opening weekend of the NFL playoffs, and there's so much talk about, oh, the Panthers, you went for it too many times on fourth down, or the Eagles just throwing away the game at the end of the day.
Hey,
And I
hey,
would
hey, hey,
say,
hey.
hey,
We don't
I
talk
know.
about
We don't
sports.
want to talk about
Carry
sports
on,
here,
carry
but
on.
to make the sports analogy here is Hamnet fits the Golden Globe drama winner. Looking for the last few years, it is, I would say, the most typical, stereotypical, you could say, Oscar baity type movie here, which they continue to kind of do. And I feel like Hamnet really fits into the shoes of something like The Brutalist from last year, where is it going to win many awards? Probably not, but it's going to be a mainstay for so many nominations from top to bottom at the Oscars.
Hamnet won Best Drama, but neither of us predicted it to win Best Drama. So instead, let's talk about our two picks. First off, we'll talk about my pick, which is a big winner of tonight, despite losing Best Drama. Then we'll talk about yours, which is possibly the biggest L of tonight. So first off, The Secret Agent. It won Best International over Sentimental Value, which took Stellan Skarsgård for supporting actor. It won over It Was Just an Accident, which had a director nomination and a screenplay nomination. So it wins international, carrying on what it did last week at the Critics' Choice Awards. Could it be the front runner now? Very possibly. And it also won Best Actor Drama for Wagner Moura, which officially locks him in for the Oscar nomination. And honestly, I'm going to say it seems like Secret Agent is locked for Best Picture too. The momentum around this thing is crazy. And I'm going to remind all of our Brazilians out there, I did promise if The Secret Agent gets a Best Picture nomination, I will make a video about my five favorite Brazilian movies. And again, spoiler alert, this will not be on that list for me. But it seems like I'm taking my L with this one, even though I feel very proud to be holding a big W of getting both its international and actor wins right tonight.
And I think that's the big difference from our predictions here is you got, what did you say, 12 out of 15? And I
Yeah.
got 10 out of 15. And these are the two categories where easily, and I guess again, Tiana Taylor, but we both got that one wrong. But this is the other two categories where I was on the fence. The movie behind me, Sinners, is the film I projected. And like you said, our biggest loser of the night. And again, playing Monday morning quarterback, it makes a little bit sense. A very international voting body going against a film that made less than The Beekeeper internationally, checks out a little bit there. I just thought the power of Sinners, especially what we've seen these last few weeks, especially with the BAFTA Longlist, which we'll talk a little bit later about in this episode, could help propel this film. It's currently our number two. We got so many nominations, but again, it doesn't win much here today. But Secret Agent, I agree, had an amazing rebound here at the Golden Globes, especially after some of its misses earlier in the week. Moore has fully cemented himself as a LAC nomination. Secret Agent could arguably be Neon's main dog in the award season race for the international feature category. And it's another L I can hold to. Secret Agent is a movie I have since seen since a lot of our early dogging on it. And I had really thought, based off of your reaction, a lot of people that we trust from either this award space or people that we know physically that went to these festivals, went to Cannes, went to London, went to TIFF, all kind of saying the same thing. Secret Agent, I respect. But do I love it that much? Maybe not. But as you've heard from a lot of other people, they rewatch it, they warm up a little bit more to it. And there's the other side of people that just adore this movie out of the gate that weren't as loud out of the beginning of the season. I know Matt's rewatched it, hasn't really loved it upon further viewing. I saw it once, I give it a very solid 7. I'll rewatch it again when we do our Best Picture revisiting series once it gets its Best Picture nomination because I think it has cemented itself as a top 9 player, if not even higher, inside our Best Picture race.
Yeah, man, I wish I liked it more. I wish I liked it more. I love Clever Mendonça Filho. Anyways, like you were saying, Sinners, man, it's been taking L's all around, losing Best Actor, Michael B. Jordan, losing Best Picture. I mean, it Ludwig Göransson won in a commercial break. It's like it's crazy. It's losing everywhere. And my question here is, will the internet have as much of a field day with Sinners losing this time around um, as they did last week? What do you think? I mean, Michael B. Jordan didn't lose to Timothy this time. He lost to Wagner Moura, and it didn't lose Best Picture to One Battle this time. It lost to Hamnet. So how do we think the internet's going to react?
I mean, I think the internet's going to do what the internet does. I think there'll be a portion of people who more so follow the awards season race, who kind of understand that Michael B. Jordan, for the most part, has been a borderline, I would say, number 3 to number 7 person in the lead actor race for about the last 6 or 5 months or so. And he was getting more and more traction as the critics group started up. But I was predicting him for this win, but I know a lot of people, the odds on favorite was Wagner Moura, who went on to win this award. And I would say over in the drama category, Hamnet is a film that at one point was, you could argue, the number 1 film in the Best Picture race for maybe about a week until One Battle After Another officially screened, and then it shot its way right up to number 1 inside the race. So, like, I definitely think people will have issues with this.
Now, my big shock, Sinners loss, because I predicted the other Sinners losses. I really thought that it would win song over K-pop Demon Hunters. I don't understand how the same voting body that awards Secret Agent in 2 categories, how does that same awards body vote for Golden? And that's not a knock on Golden. I really like the song. I think it's a very good song. It is radio pop. Like, I'm just gonna say that straight up. It's radio pop. It is very good radio pop, but the group that goes for a film as artsy and inaccessible as The Secret Agent, I don't understand how that's the same awards body that goes for Golden. I don't know. I don't know, but Golden has shown itself to be a juggernaut. I'm just gonna have to put it at number 1 at this point, especially because usually the only way that a Golden Globe Critics' Choice winning song loses is if it's not nominated, which has happened. But Golden is sure to be nominated at the Oscars, and if it is, then it seems like it's on track to win.
I share your confusion here. I do like K-pop Demon Hunters. Golden's use inside of the film is cool, I guess. It's used at the beginning of the film to show, like, hey, this is a big chart-topping song. This is why the group is so big. Clearly, that song translated into the real life and was a huge, a big chart-topping song. But when it comes back again towards the back half of the film, it's just in like a throwaway concert sequence showing like, hey, they have fans who come to their concert. And I've always been a huge proponent for the best original song category to include songs that have thematic relevance to the film that they're in. And I don't understand people who can then go say, yeah, Golden is the thematic core of K-pop Demon Hunters when there's so many other songs that either fit with the themes of the screenplay or in the scenes themselves, while Golden is just a song they perform at their concert to their fans. While on the other hand, I Lied to You is the moment from Sinners. It is the moment that was posted all over the internet for people loving this film. It's the reason why people said you have to see this in IMAX for the IMAX shifting ratio of that one-er sequence, and the fact that it's tied to a score win. The score of Sinners is also the instrumentation of this song. And I just think that this shows that the category, while we may want as cinephiles, as awards lovers, to be about the sequence itself, it's about the song and the people behind the song. And I think that we saw from the speech tonight, there is a story behind Golden that maybe some of us weren't as knowledgeable before. And I mean, to be a little bit cringy, a I Lied to You win is giving Ludwig yet another win at the Oscars, and that would be his 4th or his 5th, in like, I don't know, 3 or 4 years of trying.
takes on the Golden Globes, I guess. But we have so many other awards to speak about this week, lots of other nominations. And first off, I want to talk about the PGA and the Producers Guild Awards. Dylan, remember 2023 when they nominated both Anatomy of a Fall and Zone of Interest? And we thought that they liked international films now? Well, get fucked. It was just an accident and Secret Agent. You're getting left out. And Neon absolutely got screwed over outside of Sentimental Value being the only film to make PGA. And this is why I'll hand it over in a second. Sorry, Dylan. This is why I just still believe Sentimental Value is Neon's number one. Yes, it keeps losing international. I mean, not keeps. It wasn't nominated last week at Critics' Choice Awards, but it keeps getting these picture nominations in places that the other Neon movies can't. And so while there might be a ton of passion around Secret Agent, Sentimental Value is still that big player that's getting all of this love from almost everybody outside of SAG and DGA. So I still feel like Sentimental Value is number one.
Yeah, I mean, PGA did, I think something similar to what we were expecting when we did our predictions last week is I only included one international movie. I don't remember if you had a second one on there, if you
And
just
Secret
had.
Agent.
Okay, so you had two, I had one, and I mean, I feel like they did that. They went with more blockbuster type films. Were those the blockbusters I was really expecting? My beloved Navi, Avatar, screwed off, completely dead for award season, and Wicked between the Actors Award Ensemble Miss and PGA. Wicked for Good is fully signed, sealed, and delivered out of the Oscar Best Picture race, which is crazy to me, let alone your thought about the quality of those two movies. Those are two films that undoubtedly should be things that the producers love because they made their films budgets back two or three times over. So for them to miss here, I think is just a real glaring sign of just lack of passion behind those movies. In terms of like, I guess the Secret Agent versus Sentimental Value discourse, I would say it's the same thing as what we'll see for Warner Brothers a little bit later on down the line. It's clearly One Battle is the film that has the love and the passion behind it, but Sinners will probably come out on top with more nominations at the Oscars. And I think Sentimental Value and Secret Agent are the same thing there, where Sentimental Value appeals more to different branches, but I think Secret Agent is going to end up with the more number one votes at the Academy and something that we saw last year. Obviously, I know no one from Sentimental Value has anything like Carlos Sofia Gascon or Jack Audiard with all of the hate that they received online for rightful things that they said that were very negative. But I think that even throwing that away, there could have been a question to be made at the end of the day. Would Amelia have more number ones than I'm Still Here? And I think that's something that we're going to see play out this time in real time. It's two films that don't have any asterisks against them. It's just what's going to have more love for the number one vote because it isn't preferential voting. It's just number ones at that point. Is it going to be the film that may have a lead actor and maybe nothing else? Or is it going to be the film that has multiple acting, screenplay, and maybe even a tech like editing?
We'll have to see. We'll have to see. I don't agree with the assessment that Sentimental Value won't have number ones. Maybe I am biased because it is my number one. I don't know. But yeah, I think Weapons and F1 both being here is a huge deal. And while Neon got fucked and got one in, Warner Brothers got four into PGA. Well done,
I'll
Warner
throw my
Brothers.
asterisk again.
Rightfully done.
F1's not a Warner Brothers
It
movie.
is. It
It's
is a
not.
Warner
Apple's
Brothers
running the
movie.
campaign. Apple's doing everything for it. It's like saying Killers is a Paramount movie. It was an Apple movie.
I don't know. I'm still gonna say I think F1 it's Warner Brothers.
That
I've
title
seen the
card
counts.
drops as Apple Pictures. I mean, I think Apple is showing that when they have a dog in the race, they can have that stuff type contenders. F1 going to be Coda? No. But F1 is showing up places where people continue to say, I don't really know. I don't really know. I know in the lead up to its release, this is a film I had in Best Picture. I had it getting like six nominations. It's not going to get six nominations anymore. But I mean, the Critics' Choice showed all of these guilds that we've seen have so far, just like Begonia. Both of these films continue just to consistently show up in places where you can maybe expect them maybe to miss out, like Begonia and F1. Production design, why would the guild go for that? And they're continue to do it. And I think those are two films that aren't going to get production design at the Oscars, but are showing that there is support from the various guild branches. And I think F1 is a competitor for that 10th slot. And it's just, are you going with three Neons? Are you going to go with three Warner Brother movies? Or are you going to go with F1?
But let's move to DGA very quickly. This is a really strong five right here. And I think that this is either the Oscar five that we get, being Coogler, Anderson, Zhao, Safdie, and Del Toro. That's either the Oscar five, or we swap out either Safdie or Del Toro for a neon, or both of them for two neons. At this point, I would say Trier is likely the neon to pick there. Um, but yeah, I think that it's really, we might have this five be the Oscar five. What do you think about that?
I really see two worlds why this five makes so much sense, and you can argue this is the top five for the best picture race, especially after Hamnet's win tonight. It's just like the can stat is so strong, and while I do think the stat is going to break this year, because I don't think but all three, including Clever Mendoza Fijo, will get in for the secret agent. So the stat's breaking, but for one of them not to make it, at least one is my big, like, one of them's going to make it. And while Panay has made the most sense all season long to me, clearly his film, I think, is the weakest of the three at this moment. So I don't think we're going to get a Cold War, another round type of thing where a director who isn't in a legitimate top eight in the best picture, because Triangle of Sadness probably at the end of the day was top eight. Maybe you can make a case for number nine at the case of nomination morning, but I think one of them will get in. You're right. It'll probably be Joachim Trier, and maybe Filho can surprise, but the fact he didn't make the BAFTA list for Yorgos Lanthimos tells me that it's probably Trier, and you got to boot one of these. Del Toro missed the BAFTA, but I also feel like Del Toro's movie is stronger than Safdie's. So I don't know which one of those two I would pluck out. You'll have to come back for our final Oscar predictions in about a week or so. We'll
Yeah.
have to make the decision. But at the moment, I would say four of these and pull in one of the Neon Boys.
Anyways, though, let's move to BAFTA because the first thing to talk about here in Best Picture, I mean, you mentioned that PGA killed the hopes of Wicked, Avatar, but BAFTA, they did their very best to kill the international films in the race because both It Was Just an Accident and The Secret Agent are nowhere to be seen. And this is crazy because BAFTA usually loves international films. So what happened here? Is it just that Neon is juggling too much? What happened? And I did hear people explain that Jafar Panahi did not make a trip to the UK. That should not have impacted getting on to a BAFTA long list. I also heard people say that The Secret Agent hasn't come out in theaters yet in Britain. That should not have impacted a BAFTA long list because they have access to screeners. It's not like they're not seeing the movie. They can see it. They just didn't vote for it. So what happened?
I mean, the simple answer could be the easiest one. Sentimental Value is a European production. The other two aren't. And I think time after time, what we've seen, especially the Brazil movies, I'm still here blanked. It didn't get any long list last year. And I mean, like, Secret Agent did do better this year. And I think going back to that last point you made about Panahi not doing the Q&A and Secret Agent not being in theaters, that's the argument that we're making fun about Sinners. And people say, like, what do you mean Mari Supreme won these awards that came out last week? No, people who vote for these things can see these movies. Both of those films played at the London Film Festival. Both of those films have probably been on screener portals for at least a month prior to voting Accident. Definitely. And Secret Agent maybe say like, oh, it hasn't come out yet, but I'm sure BAFTA voters can see whatever movie they want whenever they want. I would say the more surprising thing looking at the BAFTA things is the films that they did really boost, because these are films that I would say are borderline type contenders in some categories, like Begonia, which shows up for film, it shows up for director. Jesse Plemons continues to show up, and this is a film that a month ago was probably borderline 10th place in Best Picture. A week ago was probably borderline 9 to 8. And now you can make a case for this as the number 7 movie in the Best Picture race.
Train Dreams Missing here is a little interesting to me because, like, this movie has been so up and down, and I would have liked to see it at least on the long list. Because, like, you put Nuremberg on here. I don't know. You can put something like Train Dreams and solidify that in the Best Picture race.
I would say, kind of like we just talked about with the Globes, is Train Dreams. I mean, I don't have stats to back this up, but Train Dreams feels like such an American, a North American type story that I can understand why the BAFTA may not go out for it. Well, Nuremberg, for better or for worse, does have that British appeal to it, even if it's a story that largely revolves around Americans in a war. But like, another thing I just want to mention with Nuremberg before we move away, because Nuremberg is not something that we should take serious, but there's so much talk with Sony Pictures Classics, how they have sleeper contenders, how they can pull stuff out of anything. But a Blue Moon's that movie. Why were they pushing Nuremberg here and not Blue Moon?
Yeah.
Blue Moon easily, I'm not saying best film list, but could have got into some other places where Nuremberg got it basically everywhere it could have.
In Best Director, once again, Jafar Panahi, the big loser here. I mean, in this category, they do five men and five women, but the five men that we got here, we didn't get Jafar Panahi, we got Joachim Trier. And so it's clear for me that he is the most likely Neon nominee. But you know who's missing here? Guillermo del Toro. He's not here. And that feels like a big, significant miss. You mentioned it earlier when we were talking DGA. And the question I just have is if we remove one of the DGA group, is it Del Toro or is it Safdie? And I really don't know the answer to that.
I would say based off of this list here, Yorgos Lanthimos got in over not just Del Toro, not just
Yeah.
Panahi, but anyone else you want to mention. And I have this weird thing I would have said if Yorgos made DGA, he could have been like mangled this year, where it's like, what do you mean this guy's getting in for the fifth slot in the director race? But without the DGA, I'm not going to predict that quite yet. But if that happens, I'm not going to be completely shocked. But yeah, I think if we're going for the Oscar, and if you want to play it safe, drop Yorgos, add Chloe Zhao, and that's our five. I mean, I think the BAFTA list here, I respect the way BAFTA goes about it. Is it the most smart thing when you consider the contenders at large? Maybe not, but I think it's still cool to give recognition to films and filmmakers that may not get it otherwise. Because, like, I am a super stan for the voice of Henry Job, so for Benhana to get in here is just was my highlight of the BAFTA long list.
So in the Best Actor category, we mostly have exactly what we expect. But where the hell is Wagner Moura? Is it just that, I mean, Fernanda Torres didn't make the list last year for Best Actress. Where the hell is Wagner Moura? Because I would actually say that The Secret Agent has more buzz right now than I'm Still Here had at the same point in the race. It was very easy to write off Fernanda Torres missing as there just wasn't enough buzz for the movie. Moura has that buzz. So what the hell happened?
I guess I think it still just goes back to while we know BAFTA loves their international movies, they love more of their European and sometimes Asian art house cinema movies. And like going back to Fernanda Torres missing, Penelope Cruz misses as well, and she wanted to get the Oscar nomination. So I think Wagner Moore fits right alongside those other two. While those were Sony Picture Classics people, and Ethan Hawke shows up here, Russell Crowe shows up as well for Nuremberg. But I think Moore is fine, and I think the real questions will come down to the fifth slot. Maybe some people could say Michael B. Jordan is currently that number five. I would lean more towards someone like Ethan Hawke, but Jesse Plemons is rising up and coming up strong right at the last moment. Where if we got BAFTA nominations before the Oscar voting window closed, I wouldn't be shocked if Jesse Plemons is among the BAFTA nominees for Best Leading Actor. And if he was there ahead of time, I would have a really hard time not predicting him for the Oscar. While lead actress, if we flip over there, our top six are all here, and your number six is probably Kate Hudson for Song Sung Blue. So, I mean, like, even if Begonia wasn't as strong as it has shown this past week, still, I think Emma Stone would be good enough over Kate Hudson, especially considering about the fact that they're both Focus Features movies. And I think Focus knows, hey, Emma Stone. She's a multiple time winner. She's a multiple time nominee. She's good for it.
Yeah, you've got four actresses now who have been nominated for literally everything. Jessie Buckley, Rose Byrne, Chase Infinity, Emma Stone. All four have gotten every single nomination. Kate Hudson, Renata Reinsva, they have three out of four. And my God, dude, I'd lose my mind if Kate Hudson got nominated over Renata Reinsva. Supporting actor, there are no surprises here. I guess the only thing that I could stretch to say is a surprise, we just saw Miles Caton get into SAG in a field of five, and he does not make the long list of 10 here in favor of Delroy Lindo. But otherwise, our tight five for these actors, it's all here. Jacob Elordi, Benicio del Toro, Paul Mescal, Sean Penn, Stellan Skarsgård. They've all made it basically everywhere. Stellan Skarsgård missed SAG, but everywhere else he's made it. And over in supporting actress, the one big snub here is Elle Fanning. And no Elle Fanning in the list of 10. I mean, they went with Brenda Blethyn for Dragonfly, Carey Mulligan for The Ballad of Wallace Island, Emily Watson in Hamnet, and Gwyneth Paltrow all over Elle Fanning. The dream of the double nomination for Sentimental Value is dead. She got both the Globe and the Critics' Choice. She has just missed SAG and BAFTA, and I think with that, she is officially done in this category. And it's disappointing. Elle Fanning keeps delivering great work in films that are in Best Picture, and she keeps just missing out to a co-star because Inga Ibsdottir Lilias, she's here, but I think honestly, we are very close to having a solidified five. Definitely, we have a solidified six with Teyana Taylor, Amy Madigan, Wunmi Mosaku, Inga Ibsdottir Lilias, and then battling for that fifth slot, Ariana Grande and Odessa. Because Odessa, with SAG and BAFTA in a row, she's having a real run.
She is, and I think she's really benefiting from Marty doing really well at this moment, which I also think is in tandem with Timmy's recent two wins. And I think the real question just comes down to are you someone who wants to go 5 for 5 with having all five of your nominees be Best Picture contenders? Or do you want to be someone who says, hey, every year we get between 3 and 6 non-Best Picture nominated actors, and Ariana Grande fits the bill for someone like that. She's gotten everything so far. Why pluck her out now? I get there's Margot Robbie, I get there's Viola Davis. I'm sure I'm missing out on someone else that's happened here in the last few years, but I would say just leave Grande in at worst. You're going 4 for 5 because I think there's a chance where Grande still makes it and Odessa makes it as well, and someone else misses out on the category. But I don't know. And I guess to clean myself up a little bit, Amy Madigan would also be a non-Best Picture nominated performance inside this category. But sometimes we have two. Think about the year of Nyad and Color Purple. Two, if not even more, in supporting actors were not Best Picture nominees.
So over in original screenplay, we have most of the usual suspects here. Of course, we're missing Jay Kelly and Sorry Baby, which both made Critics' Choice. And I feel like people were pushing Sorry Baby as our fifth slot for a long time. But this is one of those categories where we've got four solid films in here. Sinners, Marty Supreme, Sentimental Value, It Was Just an Accident, are all in. I mean, it was just an accident, just missed director, missed picture. It's still in the long list here for screenplay. But the question just comes down to what is slot five? And again, earlier in the season, we were saying Jay Kelly, we were saying Sorry Baby. Uh, but now I think the BAFTA long list narrows it down to either Weapons or The Secret Agent. And The Secret Agent hasn't gotten a single screenplay nomination yet, but the fact that it is rising up in picture and it makes it into the BAFTA long list puts it on the horizon for me at least. And Weapons being on the BAFTA long list and making that PGA nomination feels like it could solidify this as our fifth slot. So I'm torn all over the place as to what to do here.
That is fair, and I think on the opposite side for adapted screenplay, we have one big miss, and I think this solidifies what our five for the Oscar adapted is, and I think it's what's been our five for about 2 or so months now. Begonia's here, Frankenstein's here, Hamnet's here, One Battle After Another's here, and Train Dreams is here. No Other Choice misses a lineup of 10, where you have movies like 28 years later, Pillion and Nuremberg taking up slots instead.
Yeah, and Wake Up Dead Man getting its first screenplay mention of the year. No Other Choice officially dead, deader than dead. But yeah, the top five is as locked as it gets. That is a completely impenetrable top five. There's nothing else that can make it at this point. Got our Oscar shortlist. So one of the only really big misses that we have here is Wicked for Good, but it's missed everywhere, and it's officially out of the race. And my big takeaway here is Sentimental Value getting in here is big. It needed this after its terrible day at SAG. And over in cinematography, we have both BAFTA and ASC reporting this week. And there's really no surprises here. Everything is making it. Especially like at BAFTA, everything is making it. At ASC, however, we get a couple of big snubs, being F1 and Hamnet. Now, not both of those could have made it because obviously we've got a really solid top four of Train Dreams, Frankenstein, One Battle, and Sinners. But we were kind of thinking that either F1 or Hamnet would be that slot five, but nope, Marty Supreme shows up right there. So my question here, I mean, I think we've come to terms with F1 is probably not going to be in cinematography, but is Hamnet snubbable after this ASC miss?
I think it definitely is, but I think history has shown ASC rarely goes 5 for 5. So I think the easy swap is Marty Supreme for Hamnet. Boom, there you go, 4 for 5. That fits in line. But also, I mean, stats are meant to be broken, and Marty Supreme is a film that's rising at this moment. I don't think A Complete Unknown got ASC last year, but cinematography was something that people were projecting could be a potential nomination for. I know it was something that I had in my top six all the way up until the very end. So, like, I don't know. We'll have to see with Marty. It's doing really well at this moment, but Hamnet just had a great night tonight, or I guess yesterday at the time we're recording this. But I think those are our five to go with.
And editing. Basically everything made it into BAFTA here. But of course, again, international films all snubbed. And this time, Sentimental Value is one of those international films snubbed. You can definitely strike that from your contenders for editing. Usually, the adage is if it's a top five contender, it's probably a contender for editing. And Sentimental Value is looking like it's not a top five contender. But in the editing category, there's a clear pattern of what's been happening. F1, Marty Supreme, one battle after another, Sinners. The question is just what is number five? And I think BAFTA narrows that down to Begonia, Frankenstein, or Hamnet. One of those is going to be the final one. And it's just a question, which one do you go with there?
And I know it's not going to be this easy, but it would be so lovely if it was as easy as the one that gets cinematography, the other one gets editing, and we call it a fair deal. But that's not what's really going to happen. I guess just tying cinematography back into this because it's involving some of the same movies. I would say from our earlier conversation of director, if you have Guillermo missing, maybe Frankenstein's the movie that you take out. If you have Safdie missing, maybe Marty's the film that you have taken out of your cinematography lineup. And I think editing is kind of the same thing. Of the director that you take out makes sense for the editing film that you take out as well, just because, as you said, most years it's our top five. And sometimes you may throw in a film like F1 that's just such an editing showcase. Begonia is a film that I would be kind of shocked for it to show up in editing, but if it does show up in editing, then you have to really take this film serious as being like, this film is just so much stronger than we ever could have expected at this point of the season.
And in the international category, there's really nothing to talk about. Every single film that we expected to be here is here. Shout out to this category for being one of the only places that all of the neon films showed up. Like, I mean, they're all here, but a lot of them didn't make it anywhere else. I mean, no other choices here. It missed screenplay. Surat is here. It basically just got this in casting. Yeah, Secret Agent is here. It made this in screenplay. It was just an accident. This in screenplay. Man, they hated the international films this year. Anyways, quickly over to documentary. Five of our 15 Oscar docs were shortlisted here, which is pretty abysmal. This category is just so unpredictable. Last year was terrible for last year was terrible for BAFTA to Oscar correlation. Only two out of their five nominees were nominated. So I'm going to be real with you. Five of the Oscar shortlist being here doesn't matter to me. I could take two of those as the nominees and it would still make sense because nothing makes sense in documentary. Now, the big question mark here is that K-pop Demon Hunters was not eligible, and this makes this category profoundly unhelpful. Now, a film that was here and was also at PGA animated, Demon Slayer Infinity Castle. And Dill, I have a question to ask here that's going to make some anime fans a little bit mad at me. Um, do you think that there's a possibility that the reason Demon Slayer keeps popping up is that some voters think they're voting for K-pop Demon Hunters? They see Demon Slayer and they go, "Oh yeah, the K-pop movie, K-pop Demon Slayer." And
Um,
I think that BAFTA, specifically because K-pop Demon Hunters was ineligible, if people looked down the list of films and were looking for K-pop Demon Hunters and they saw Demon Slayer, do you think it's possible that some people thought that that was the same movie?
Maybe it's possible. I think more so is just So many people have talked at length for this year of how desolate this category is, how impossible it is just to make a lineup of five, that the highest grossing animated film that is not Zootopia 2 that's eligible would show up, especially at BAFTA, a place that continues to do the Minion movies in their long list, where no one else even touches the Despicable Me franchise. So I really think that's all that it is here for Demon Slayer. And I get people being like, "Oh my gosh, it's made so many, it's gonna get in." The issue is everyone does six now, so of course everything's gonna show up everywhere. And I think the places that have done five are going to show, hey, this is what number five. And BAFTA only does four, so it doesn't matter. You take your five for animated feature. K-pop's ineligible. There's your four. Maybe they drop Elio, but they have shown that they'll do Disney movies and Pixar movies that no one cares about.
So over in the score category, the only big miss here is F1. Basically everything else expected made it, plus Nuremberg.
And Wicked for Good. They didn't even do
And
Wicked
Wicked for
last
Good.
year.
No, but here's what I want to say about Wicked for Good. People are discounting Wicked for Good far too much. It made the nominations at the Society of Composers and Lyricists, which was a big indicator of its nomination last year that everyone ignored. It made it again this year. So for me, Wicked for Good is top six. It's either in or it's the next in line.
And that's the thing with score this year. And I feel this continues to be the trend for score year after year is the fifth slot. You really can kind of go whatever way you want. And it's not always the strongest movie that gets in. It's the film that has the best package. And I mean, at this point, Wicked for Good might have a better package than something like Marty Supreme or something like Surratt or F1, which were previous films that you could consider for that fifth slot. And while Marty Supreme has the hype around it now, which may be enough to get it in, like maybe something like American Fiction that year, but like Wicked has not missed anything outside of Critics' Choice and Golden Globes, but aren't always the best precursors for the music categories.
In the costume category, our one big miss from BAFTA is Hedda, which was looking beforehand like our likely fifth place contender for the costume design category. And it was eligible, seeing as Tessa Thompson was shortlisted in Best Actress. So, what happened to make Hedda miss? I'm completely lost.
Couldn't tell you. I mean, Nuremberg's here with war outfit or war suits because they're not even at war. It's like the general outfits. Nouvelle Vague couldn't tell you. I was this close to the screen. I still can't remember any of the outfits. I guess it's recreating outfits from
Suits.
Breathless. Downton
It's just
Abbey's
suits.
here. British pick. And I think Hedda can still make the Oscar 5, but I mean, if one battle is just strong, this is the Oppenheimer Men in Suits costume, and
I disagree. I
it's
disagree.
not Men in Suit, it's Man in Bathrobe.
No, I think that One Battle After Another has some of the best costume design of the year. It's not flashy costume design, but everyone in that film has memorable, flashy design. It's just modern. It's modern. That's what it is. And the Oscars typically don't go modern, but it's so much more intricate than Oppenheimer just being like, let's put everyone in a suit. And in production design, there's nothing to talk about. There's no big misses. Both the Art Directors Guild and BAFTA, which both released this week, they did every single thing in contention. There's really nothing. I guess the one big takeaway is Avatar Fire and Ash. Both previous Avatar films got production design. This one did not get into the BAFTA, which I think officially takes it out of the running. But anyways, over to the sound category. The big miss here, no Surratt. Come on, guys. Come on, BAFTA. This is insane that you guys are not doing Surratt. Um, so I don't know. I don't know, man. Again, there's a top four that's really solid. And then it's just a question mark of do you go Surratt, you go a cool pick and hope that the Oscars are cooler than the fucking BAFTAs? Or do you go with something like Avatar? Do you go with something like Wicked for Good?
My quick question is, what is the top four here?
Top four is easily F1, Frankenstein, One Battle, and Sinners. Those are the
Gotcha.
top
Okay.
four. Just a
Franken
question.
Frankenstein
One,
was in my head, but now that you said it, it makes sense.
yeah. No, Frankenstein makes a lot of sense for a sound nomination, and it's got everything that it needs at this point so far.
Yeah, and I guess if you want to look at being like, oh, why couldn't that film make here? Begonia, I guess, is the one question mark. But I mean, overall, I think this is a pretty great list of sound shortlists. Like all of these films have great sound, even if it isn't always the most flashy sound.
And our last category to talk about is Best Visual Effects. And in Best Visual Effects, 8 out of 10 of our Oscar shortlist is here. And very interestingly, what missed was The Electric State and Sinners. And Sinners missing here is especially interesting because BAFTA is the body that nominated both Oppenheimer and Poor Things, uh, neither of which made the Oscar nominations. Oppenheimer didn't even make the Oscar shortlist. BAFTA usually goes with films that are in Best Picture with small but mighty VFX. Um, BAFTA usually falls for that, and they didn't go for Sinners. Does that tell us anything about what the VFX branch will do for Sinners?
We won't have to wait long when we do our next roundup. Next week, we'll have VES to really chime in here. But I would say, I mean, for the people who thought Sinners can maybe upset, this might be your sign to maybe it's not going to upset Avatar. But I mean, I don't think Godzilla made this list that year. So you can maybe point to that. But I think that's a very unique exception here.
That's a very unique exception.
I
Avatar's not sleeping.
Yeah, I think Avatar is good. I think this is people trying to say Doom would lose last year, and it didn't lose anything, even for sound. I guess it lost one precursor for sound. But How to Train Your Dragon, it makes an appearance. It's just not the appearance that I was predicting all year long.
Yeah, I'm very curious. I think this is another category where likely 4 out of 5 of them are set. It's just a question of does Sinners get in too?
Yeah, and I think this is a category too where they don't really care about your best picture strength sometimes. Like they'll just go for what has the most work. So like you may be like, oh,
Absolutely.
Wicked, it's dead for picture. They'll still do Wicked if the other films aren't really hitting what needs to hit. We haven't really got much talks about the bake-offs yet. I think I heard something about Makeup Bake-Off going really well for Mari Supreme, but that's really it that I've heard from bake-off talks. I'm sure we'll get some here soon that may say like, oh my gosh, Sinners had the best bake-off that there could be. Frankenstein had an awful bake-off. Take Frankenstein out. But usually these bake-off talks kind of lead you astray. I think even if some people have issues with Frankenstein's visual effects, the film's too big. It's not going to miss.
A friend of mine from school, one of my classmates that I work with on a lot of stuff, he was part of the casting team on Sentimental Value. And so he was just attending the casting bake-off. I need to ask him what the vibe was in that room for all of those nominees. Probably our next week video is going to be us talking about our predictions for the actual nominations, the Oscars.
Crazy
Like,
stuff. That's come
it's
so
coming up.
soon.
It's coming up. It's 10 days. And between now and then, I also will be releasing my annual short film video talking about all of those. I still have 15 of them to watch. So good luck to me because I need to do that in the next 2 or 3 days. Yay.
They're called short films for a reason.
Yeah, yeah, they're not so short this year. Oh my God, they're not so short at all. Anyways, though, thank you all so much for watching this week's video. If you like what you see, make sure you subscribe, make sure you comment, like, it helps our channel keep growing week after week, month after month. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. My name's Matt.
My name's Dill, and this has been Fantasy Filmball.